Where we left off in our last segment is we were talking about the Tower of Babel, and I had given you what my belief was. Okay, what I meant to say, because I was running out of time on my video, was that it is believed, and I have been taught in church, that Nimrod had this tower built so that he could contact entities, other fallen entities. Okay, because there were angels that have left their first estate. Um, they did it before Noah's time. They mated with earth women. After Noah's time, they mated with earth women and had offspring. But some of those fallen, have come down throughout time. And so with Nimrod, I was taught that he was contacting fallen angels. Okay, he was involving himself in the occult so he could see into the spirit realm. Okay, knowing what I know now and believe that they knew this back then. We don't, we've been dumbed down, but they knew this back then. They knew that they were that they were fallen. They knew who they were. They knew that their bloodlines were traced back to Cain. And so Nimrod, I believe that he was using the help of entities in order to reach the heavens, perhaps to get into the heavens through a portal. Okay, a portal. I would also like to mention that there are pyramids, and I'll get into this later, but those pyramids are very placed within our planet. It's not just in Egypt, okay? And these pyramids were strategically placed as on a grid line in order to open gateways and portals into the heavens. And I believe that the Tower of Babel was the same thing. I have also heard that this was the first attempt by Satan, but through Nimrod, to create a new world order. Now, I realize some of my listeners may not even know what a new world order is, and if you're one of those people and you got the deer in the headlights look, let me tell you what it is. It's Satan's attempt to rule the entire planet and take over as his own God, and micromanage humanity as slaves. Now, we are slaves. We just don't know we're slaves right now. And certainly you don't want to be a slave to sin. But on this planet, if you are part of this world, you are a slave to this world because you're working for the wrong side. But the New World Order is going on right now. This is man's next attempt at creating a New World Order, where they want to take all the boundaries and create a total prison planet for humanity. If you ask me, we're already in it, but things are going to get much worse. And what they're going to do is they're using the United States right now to they're going to use the fall of it to create their new utopia, where there is a one world religion, a one world leader, and all of this makes up part of a new world order. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of what you're taught as conspiracy theory, we have been programmed that when we hear the word conspiracy theory, to block it off. Don't listen. And interesting enough, I have something that I'm going to read a little bit later that's kind of shed some light on what's going on here. But I thought the best thing I could do is come out with my testimony. I'm not going to get too dramatic about it, but I'm going to try to go through it real quick. This testimony is my awakening. Now, some of you may not know what I'm talking about when I say I'm awake. A lot of you out there are awake, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, I'm going to suggest movies to you. The first movie, this movie I'm going to suggest, is watch The Matrix again. You know, you're looking at Neo and Morpheus is telling Neo that, you know, you can sense it. You can sense there's something wrong in this world, but you don't know what it is. And then he offers him two pills. He shows him a red pill and a blue pill. He says that if you take the red pill, that, you know, he's in for the ride of his life. You take the blue pill, you'll go back to sleep, and this will all be a dream. So some of you may not know what I'm talking about. I suggest you go see that movie, because if you're not awake, when you do wake up, that movie is going to have a whole lot of significance to you. So what do I mean by I'm awake? Well, let me give you this testimony, and I'm going to try to get it in the short amount of time that I have on here. Okay, 1989. It was another testimony I have, but I'm not there yet. I believe the Lord was trying to wake me up then, but I started getting busy with life. I went on with my life, you know, and so anyway, back around 2007, we're in a church again, and we're, you know, reading our Bibles. I was reading my Bible all the time. Next thing you know, like 6 months into this, we're teaching youth group, because I'm no stranger to the church. I'm no stranger to the teachings. And the youth group at this particular church was just running amok. Whoever was supposed to be teaching it before was just letting the kids go crazy. And so they needed somebody that could come in and crack the whip, I guess. And we were the lucky ones. You know, it's like everybody's standing in a row and they say, okay, who's going to volunteer? And everybody but you takes a step back. Well, that's how we ended up with it. At first, I didn't want to teach youth group. I really was not interested in junior high kids and youth group. And I just wasn't happy about it. But then we get into teaching it, and I'm like, well, gosh, you know, I started really wanting to do this thing. And these kids, I mean, they were like kids out of the hood or something, because some of the kids that folks went to the church, but these were like friends in their neighborhood that they were bringing to church. And these kids were, you know, swearing. They were throwing F-bombs at each other when we walked into this situation. So when we started teaching this group, I started really praying for wisdom. I'm like, Lord, what can I do to grab these kids' attention, because it's not going to be playtime all night, and really teach them something out of your word. You know, what can I do? So I believe that the Lord just started laying it out there and showing me things. And so we had some very good lessons. But I was still praying for wisdom. Still praying for wisdom. And one day during this time, we had all these wood chips delivered to our house by, I don't know if it was, you know, the electric company or somebody, but they dumped a whole lot of them for us, and we were out there with a wheelbarrow all day, moving them to different parts of the yard and stuff. And I came in for lunch, and I got on my laptop. Now, I had internet. I'd had internet for probably, oh gosh, this is 2007 I'm talking about. So I probably had internet since 1998. Okay? But I was never on it, you know. I was one of them people that you would have to remind, hey, go look it up on the internet, because I'm thinking I got to go somewhere to get this information, you know. Or, I wonder what this would cost or something. Someone would say, hey, go on the internet. Well, I did have eBay store, and I did sell on eBay at the time. But I really didn't spend a lot of time on the internet. So MSN used to have these forums, and I don't think they exist anymore. I haven't run across them. But back then, somehow I ended up on one of these forums for MSN. And of course, you have the atheists on there, and they're throwing the typical questions. How can a loving God let people suffer? You know, all those kind of things where they like to trap you. And I'm answering some of those from a Christian perspective. And then I run across political. And there was somebody on there was just saying a bunch of stuff about George Bush. And it seemed like at the time everybody was. And I was drinking the Kool-Aid. For those of you that know what I'm talking about, I was drunk in the Kool-Aid. I thought, you know what? I'm tired of this. So I got on my soapbox and I wrote like this 2-page thing that I pasted into there on this forum. And I was talking about how blessed we were that we had a Christian president when 9/11 took place. And I know, don't laugh. And I had remembered reading or listening to something before that about the blackout bomb and what it could do. I think it was, I don't know, it was some program or something. And I said, we need to find those weapons of mass destruction. Do you realize what would happen if they sent a blackout bomb and took out the grid? And I mean, I was like all over this thing. And I was all proud of myself. I get done writing this. I think I even printed out what I wrote, read it to my husband. You know, I'm sticking up for Bush, man. He's a man of God. So, mind you, I'm still praying for wisdom. So about a week goes by. It seemed like it was real short after that. And I had a flight in a couple of days. I was going to be going back east to visit my family. And this was, I'm guessing this is like beginning of 2008. It was like right after like February. So I'm sitting at my desk. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It could have been in the winter that we were doing this. It seemed like right after that. I'm sitting down at my desk. I got my laptop there. And I'm on eBay like I always am. And I know that they did these things on television. I think I had television back then where they would, I think it was Jay Leno, they'd show you like this ratty pair of tennis shoes that somebody sold on eBay and they got a lot of money for it, and the audience is like, man, who would buy that and pay that kind of money? You know, just odd random things. And so, I don't know, I had a little time on my hands and I went on eBay and I looked it up. I looked up, okay, what's the cheapest thing they have on eBay? Like, how cheap do people really go when they sell? And I see 1 cent, 0.01 free shipping. I'm like, what? There's people selling stuff for a penny? And it wasn't even on auction. Okay, it was buy it now. So they were discs, and the headings were like bold, and it was like, you have to read this, you have to know this, I mean, you have to hear this, you have to know this, you must know this. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, apparently, you know, somebody wants you to know something if they're willing to pay the shipping and basically give it to you for free. You know, so I'm thinking maybe it's just like some Mormon thing, or you know what I mean. But I looked at the description, and there's all these headings of things I've never heard of ever in my life. Okay, Bohemian Grove, Rex 84 camps, MK Ultra, Project Bluebeam. Okay, and the list, there was like 15 things. I'm looking at this, I'm like, what are these things? I never heard of these before. What is so important about that? And I'm thinking, you know, even if I did order this thing right now, I'm leaving in a couple of days. I'm not even gonna get it right away. And it just had such a sense of urgency to it. And I'm not even one of them people that have to have it now. I have all the patience in the world when it comes to getting something. Typically, that's who I am. But this, I mean, they really have my curiosity. What is it that's so important you're willing to pay for it for me to know? So I got a paper and pen. I wrote down all of these headings. Like I said, there was like 15 headings. And I thought, you know, I'm just going to go to MSN and look them up, right? So I typed in the first one on MSN, and it said, I typed in Bohemian Grove. I don't know what a Bohemian Grove is. And when I did, you know how it shows you in the search engine all these things you can click on. I'm seeing something on YouTube that you can click on. Okay, this was at a time in my life where I had just come out of, you know, trying to get back, trying to get my life in order as a Christian. And I've always been like, I always like heavy metal. I was always into rock. And I thought YouTube was only rock videos. That's how much I knew about YouTube. I didn't even know there were videos with anything else on it. I mean, on occasion, I would go to YouTube just to look up a band and see what their video was. I mean, that's what I did. I had no idea that people were making their own videos or anything like that. And this is like early 2008. I mean, right at the beginning of that year. So, I see that this video goes to YouTube. So I click on it. I'm like, okay, this is a video on YouTube. And it was, of course, Alex Jones. And this video was called The Secrets, something like The Secrets of the Bohemian Grove or The Hidden Secrets of the Bohemian Grove. And it was like an hour and 9 minutes or something like that, hour and 19 minutes long. And I thought, well, what is this? I might as well watch this. I got nothing else to do right now. So I started watching the video. And there's Alex Jones, and he's talking about Monterey. He's talking about Monterey, California. He is talking about a 2,000-acre grove. He's talking about a statue, a huge, like, building-sized statue of an owl that represents Molech. Well, I had heard of Molech before, so, I had my curiosity. Then he's talking about all the world's politicians meet there once a year, and it's like a big men's club. And they get together, they make world decisions there, and how they guard the place so nobody comes in. And these are the richest of the richest people. But then he's mentioning names: Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronald Reagan, Bush. And then he's talking about Skull and Bones Society, secret society, and our current well, he was current at the time I watched this, George Bush. He's talking about how George Bush is a 4th generation Skull and Bonesman. Well, I don't know what a Skull and Bones is. I don't know what secret societies are. And so I'm watching this. I watched the whole thing, and what they do is they do an effigy in and this is in July every year up here in California. Well, they do an effigy, which is supposed to be a mock human sacrifice to Moloch. You following me here? And they go through this whole ritual, and it's out like a play. And what he did is he snuck in with about 12, I think BBC, I'm not sure, reporters or reporters who helped him get onto this 2,000-acre campus and film with this camera what's going on in Bohemian Grove. Now, I'm going to say right now, I know that some of you people that are awake, you're like opposed to Alex Jones. You say he's also one of them, but I will tell you, if it wasn't for Alex Jones, I'm sure the Lord would have woke me up, but it was Alex Jones that he used to wake me up. So I'm watching this, and then he shows the whole ritual going on. And it's a big amphitheater with a lake that goes through there. And they're putting on, like, you see all this row, it looks like the papacy, looks like popes, and they got the fish hats on, Dagon hats, and they're wearing dark robes, and they're coming up, and they're carrying, supposed to be a fake person on a stretcher, and they're going to Moloch to throw him in the fire. And I was glued to this thing. And then you hear a voice, and it's supposed to be the voice of Molech. It sounded like the voice of Satan himself, and they claim that it was the voice of Walter Cronkite, for those of you that remember who he was. He knows better now. Coming from this statue, and you hear when they when they do the effigy, they throw the body in, like human screams, like somebody is really literally burning in this fire. And honestly, I think in my heart of hearts that it really is a person burning in that fire. But they go through this whole long ritual, and then the voice that comes out, "Hey, ye fools," and it's talking like Satan, and he's laughing, and it's just such a heinous laugh. Anybody that never heard of this, please go to YouTube and look up The Secrets of the Bohemian Grove. It's like an hour and 9 minutes or an hour and 19 minutes, something like that long. Watch that version of it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. This is where our politicians and world leaders go in one accord, doing a sacrifice, supposed to be a mock sacrifice, but a sacrifice to Moloch. Okay? Baal. Okay? And it's an owl statue that they have. You know why? Because they're the wise ones. That's what that owl means, and that's their little what do you call it? Their little logo for their whole Bohemian Grove thing is an owl. You know why? Because they're the wise ones. They see things in the dark. See, we are just cattle. To them, we're just we're cattle. We're the useless eaters. But to them, they are the wise ones. And so I remember thinking to myself, my gosh, even, let's just say it was fake, that it is a mock sacrifice, okay? Didn't the children of Israel, didn't thousands of them get wiped out at a time for doing this very same thing in the groves? I mean, really? I mean, if there wasn't something I remember from my Bible, it was that. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going on in the United States of America. I just was blown away. To me, it was like a death in the family. I was in shock. I mean, I don't even know that I looked up any of these other things just yet. I was still in shock from this one thing, because I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, God must be long-suffering not to have taken us out a long time ago. If this is true and this is what's going on, this is horrible. And it really did something to me. That was my first awakening. And for the sake of time, I'm going to ramble through this. So I'm telling you, for a period of weeks, I was like in mourning over this thing. So I go back east to see my family. I'm only there a couple of days because my mother was going to travel back with me. And so I'm thinking, everybody's going to want to know this, right? I mean, my gosh, who wouldn't want to know this? Wrong. Nobody wants to know, okay? And I quickly found out that not only that, but the things that I learned after that, people don't want to know. They have been programmed to shut you down. You're a conspiracy theorist, We have been programmed to shut people down when it goes outside the parameter of what we're told. That is why we're being dumbed down, okay? Because if it's outside of what they're taught is the normal, then you're the crazy one. And they will not listen. And they think they're doing you a favor. They really do. They think that you've maybe gone over the deep end and they're going to try to help you come back. But the truth of the matter is, once your eyes are open and once you can see it, you just cannot go back. I'll never go back. There's not too many awake people out there that will ever go back, okay? So, go back east. I come back. And, I'm reading my Bible. My mom reads her Bible. I really was into reading it. So now my next focus was, because this was about groves, I wanted to go in my Bible and look up, I was aware of Bible Gateway software. That was the only Bible software I was aware of at the time. So I went on Bible Gateway and I ran a search on the word grove, because I used it a lot when I was teaching the kids group. That's how I found Bible Gateway. So I'm looking up the word grove in the King James. It's all over. It's like a lot of places in the King James is the word grove. Okay, great. I start looking it up in other versions. I go to NIV. I go to NASB. I start going to, okay, the Living Bible. I start going to all these Bibles, looking up the word groves, you know, worshiping in the groves. That word disappeared completely. Who doesn't know what a grove is? If I tell you that somebody's in a walnut grove or somebody's in an orange grove, okay, you know exactly what I'm telling you. It's a grove. It's full of trees that bear this particular fruit, okay? So what is there not to understand with that word? And that's what really got me thinking is, wait a minute, none of these other Bibles, they've taken that word out. So then, I'm like, okay, what else don't I know? So then I'm going through this list of 15 here during this time. And it's like every single thing I uncover is just blowing my mind. And then it's like, okay, what else don't I know? So I'm researching. I'm not even just listening what other people got to say about it. I want to know, you know, is this true? Is this not true? So I go to Rex 84 and I run across educate, I think it's like educateyourself.com. I run across that website. And then I'm finding stuff on there. Oh my gosh, she's seen things around there. And then I'm going further. So then I go to Wikipedia and I'm looking up these things. That is probably the point I got real familiar with internet, is because this just took me, this is endless. And every time you think you know everything, you find out there's something else you don't know. And so that's what happened. I mean, first of all, my brain was just spinning. Okay, because I'm thinking about all these things that didn't make sense. I'm thinking about the time, and I brought this up in an earlier video. I'm thinking about the time in the 70s where Procter & Gamble had a Luciferian symbol on Ivory shampoo. And the churches, or the Christian community, was in an uproar over this. And so I just remember being a kid and hearing this on the news. And that Procter & Gamble, of course, said, wow, we didn't know that. We're going to take it off immediately. You know, and I remember as a kid thinking, wow, what a coincidence. That's a coincidence that they would, I didn't think there was any more to it, you know. And then the time in college, I did a paper, and afterwards, everybody gets to ask you questions. So this one guy, because this teacher, she was amazing, and I'll get to that in a minute. One of the guys in the class says, as pertaining to something political, he goes, well, I'm neither Democrat or Republican. And then he goes into whatever he's getting ready to ask me. And I'm thinking to myself, what else is there? Is there anything but a Republican or a Democrat? And then I remember this teacher asking me questions about papers. See, she would put like 50 headings on a list, and everybody in the class would get to pick whatever one they wanted and write on it. And they were weird because they were all things that I never thought of. And now, you know, and even when I woke up, I'm thinking about these things and I'm like, wow, she knew this stuff. Because like one of the questions, what 4 corporations are running the entire planet? You know, I wrote a paper on that and still didn't sink in. There was another paper I wrote, one of the other questions she had on her list, and it was, do you think that they are minimalizing the role of the father in movies? And I remember her asking me when I wrote the paper, do you really believe that? Do you believe that? And I thought that was odd. Anyway, I'm running out of time. I need to go on to my next video. So I'm going to pick this up on the other side. Be blessed.